Visual effects unavailable. It's got too much strain on my hardware. I think my memory is shot.
It says
I
your
think I've,
resolution's actually better in real life, so hopefully it's the same with your face.
it's saying that about you, and I know that's not true. Yeah, well, fuck it. Ready?
Hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of Raising Spirits. I'm Will.
FaceTime. I'm Nate.
He sure is. And we are New Standard, here to talk a little bit about hospitality, leadership, culture, business in general, and all things that we find mildly amusing. Nate, what's going on in your world, man? How you doing?
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Plugging away with the casino class. Talked to a lot of contacts that I haven't talked to over the past probably 8-9 months. Getting ramped up for that. Looking forward to Vegas next month. Speaking of that, one of the uh, I think Fountain Blue, one of the MGM properties that a group of students toured last year. I saw an article that they are starting an exclusive invite-only kind of rewards or players club for non-gaming visitors, which is cool. And sounds like they've brought a lot in over the past couple of years from, that Formula One and the Super Bowl and all the other events that they're hosting. So I thought that was pretty unique.
Yeah, it's interesting that it is almost cyclical, because I remember in about 2010-ish, Caesars did a similar thing with Total Rewards before they rebranded everything. And I know a lot of loyalty clubs have non-gaming earning now, but to have a loyalty club that's specifically for non-gaming and invitation only, that level of spend has to be immense. So really speaks to, I think we talked about it last time, the amount of non-gaming spend that goes into gaming facilities, Las Vegas in particular, with the shows, hotel, food and beverage especially. You look at some of those restaurants they have and how much spend there is, and then all the shopping, the giant shopping malls that exist between some of these places or within some of these casinos.
Yeah, right on cue. Again, based on what we talked about over the past couple of weeks, that experience, that overall experience, and what's really not only driving families and players, but to bring their families and traveling for other reasons, visiting some of the like Vegas, the mecca of gaming, and I think we know from our most recent experience that unique invite, not giving it an achievable amount of, maybe spend to reach that, kind of dangling that carrot, I guess, if you will, it really makes it feel exclusive for those. And based on the reports from the article, a lot of it's still a trial right now, if I'm not mistaken. But a lot of the response was incredible from those spenders. So again, it's great that they're looking for different things to keep those customers coming back again on the non-gaming side.
Yeah, it's almost like a deconstruction of how gaming has been treated for maybe the last 15, 20 years. You go way back, everything was an amenity to gaming. Gaming was the end all. You had shopping, you had restaurants, you had hotels because you had to in order to entertain the spouse who's not a gambler or give somebody something to do in the off hours. And now, I remember the very first month when I was in food and beverage that the outlet I worked in was independently profitable. It was such a big deal that they were, announcing it on company-wide calls. And now to see that that's come so far that you have, a loyalty club, especially for that, incredibly big and really goes back to the core of hospitality. I think, old movies when you had the concierge at the hotel, all it took was you coming out of your pocket to stay at the hotel, let alone the game, the food, all the other things that go into it now. So it's really taking it back to the heart of hospitality. Obviously, cash is king, and that's what's going to drive the invitation. But it is interesting that this is an invitation only. I know those are incredibly hard to manage. We've managed a few in our past lives here, and the amount of time that goes into not only the selection process, the management of the program itself, but also into talking to the customers who know about the program and aren't in it. That's a very difficult and delicate process that I know we both unfortunately had to dive into more than once.
Yeah, tactfulness is your friend when it comes to that. But again, it gives those spenders something to shoot for. In this instance, where if you know exactly what you have to get, that you might stop right after that, but in this situation, again, the goal is to, drive and increase revenue. And so not having that bar set, I think that's the mystery of it. And then the unknown of, will I get selected? Will I be one of those members? And from a host standpoint, or from a team member standpoint who does have to explain that, again, you're kind of dangling that carrot in front of them. And hey, we appreciate your and value your patronage in your business, and we want you to continue to visit and frequent us, and we would love that, to see you at that level in the near future. So, again, I think all good things.
Yeah, no easy job for the guys who are running that. Wish them luck. Hopefully that continues to drive that non-gaming dollar, because I think that's where we're headed as an industry, where gaming becomes a smaller and smaller role to more of a experiential side of the business. So excited to see
Yeah,
where
I
that
think
goes.
I might not hit that, gambling, but I probably could hit it bellying up to the bar on visits. Gives me something
Been
to shoot
known
for.
to clink some ice cubes every once in a while here. Speaking of, we are clinking and pouring one out with a High West bourbon this week. A beautiful little fella here from Park City, Utah. Picked it up on one of our adventures earlier this year. No, it's a new year. Last year, when we were wandering the wilds of Utah, climbing some mountains, going to some national parks out there. Usually a fan of the High West rye, but tried the bourbon this time and pretty impressed by what they're doing there, considering it's so far west of anyone who knows what the hell bourbon's supposed to taste like. One thing that I've been reading about recently, I know we're doing some traveling up the eastern seaboard this year, trying to spend a little bit of time in New York, Boston, all the great cities up there, looking into some things in New York, looking for some places to go, and saw something interesting that kind of plays into this hospitality piece that we were just talking about with the casinos. There's a new trend in New York restaurants, and this is a fresh thing that they're trying out in this certain restaurant group that we won't throw out there, but trialing some video cashiers. Kind of a strange setup where they're outsourcing some roles overseas, the Philippines specifically, and doing a almost a Zoom setup where they're able to operate the cashier box there, do some meet and greets, and almost run the front of the restaurant from the Philippines.
Well, it sounds a hell of a lot better than the self checkout that are turned off, and you just have to look at them from the long line you're in. And a way to give some, some personality to that checkout and that experience. I'm sure, obviously, from a labor standpoint, it's appealing, but I think it's kind of one of those fine lines we've talked a lot about in the hospitality industry, is as technologies continue to evolve in AI and robots and such, it is that really sometimes that pulls away from that actual touch, right? Which creates that experience for every customer when they're visiting the establishment. I think you really just have, as an owner and operator, you really have to be picky, I guess, in what you use it for. Where, for example, a gentleman I had talked to 2 years ago, when we were talking about integrating technology, he had automatic tortilla chip deep fryers, right? So it knew exactly, it dispensed the raw tortilla shells, and dropped them into the fryer. It knew exactly how the timeline, pulled it out, dumped them into a bin, and it. I'm sure alleviated a certain amount of FTEs on their workforce, and one for each establishment. I think they had 38 properties roughly. So something like that, again, people do question, is it going to take over, our job? But then also, on the other hand, talked with another uh, actual uh, user of automatic bussers, right? So it was a job that after COVID, post COVID, they couldn't find enough staff and team members to sufficiently bus their tables. And this robot, and there were select few places across the country, would actually basically go clear the table for instead of a busser, and put it into their bus tubs and wheel that cart. And just as the hostess selects the table for the waiter and who's got it, it automatically, once it was cleared and once they departed to pay their bill, it would go and clear that table off. Probably not in a delicate as manner as a human, but again, it was a job that wasn't being able to be filled. So in this instance, again, from a cost perspective, I'm sure it's good. And it just comes down to, does it impact the experience of the customer in a negative way to where, it's going to hurt your bottom line that way in the long run?
I hate it. I think it's terrible. For so many reasons. For so many reasons. Number one, the main reason why these things take place is to improve the bottom line, which I understand. If you're saying you can't staff something, chances are it's because you're not offering a wage that's comparable to your competitors. And I'll go back to a previous iteration where we were employed, and looking at the comparable workplaces were KFC and places like that for that kind of level of employment, and they were outclassing us on wages. And they had no problem keeping the KFC open, but we're having to not open outlets because we don't have the staff. That tells you right there half the time what's going wrong there. But yeah, you're eliminating the human aspect, which is the crux of hospitality. You can't have hospitality without a human touch. You have to have nuance, you have to have understanding, you have to have empathy and things of that nature in order to provide the right experience. And you're also, this goes to what we talked about the other day with the self-check and all that. You're taking away some of these entry-level jobs where the hospitality industry kind of reaps the top performers out of. Everybody has to start somewhere, and you see who could do what with these basic jobs. Frying tortilla chips. I know local Cleveland operation was going big on their automatic fry machine, robot, what have you. That was a person that used to do that. And whether or not you need to have a skill or anything to do, simple jobs like that, what it is it's helping the economy locally. You're adding more people to the mix so that your staff is able to have a broader variety of folks to interact with back of house, where it's not so, when you have people to decompress with, when you have a team of people and you're not running from one task to the next because you've stretched that model too thin. That's where that service profit chain, again, you're taking care of your people. Your people feel like they're busy, they're productive, they're additive to the business, but they're not pulling their hair out and running around. So I hate it with every fiber of my old man being. Fuck 'em.
Yeah, you look old. So
Down with robots.
this isn't a spin-off of like Shannon and Skip. I'm not gonna argue you because there's pieces of it that I do like. But what I will question is, what about in instances where you don't have the bodies to support it? Is it then okay? Because
The
yes,
idea in my
everybody
head,
needs a foot in the door. I understand that, and
true.
yeah, a lot of us got that busing, dishwashing, doing things like that in the hospitality industry. But in the instance where you don't have the manpower, you don't have the jobs or the applicants, what do you do as a business besides
If
raise
you're
the
operating a
wage?
truck stop, if you're operating a truck stop in the middle of nowhere, Iowa, right off the interstate, I would understand that you don't have the availability of people at that level of employment to bring in because you're out in the middle of nowhere, you're in the cornfields, what have you. This is New York fucking city. There are millions of people, and probably millions of people that are at that wage level and that experience level. They're looking for, something to pay the bills because they got 6 people laid up in the same apartment trying to get by. It's an entry level job. And if we get rid of all of those, then where do people enter? As somebody who couldn't go to college, I could not afford to go to college. I had to get a job right out of high school. I dropped out of high school, frankly, to get that job. If it wasn't for entry level work at the casino, which I was luckily able to get and progress from there, I wouldn't have anything I have today. So I am a big proponent of low, I want to say low wage, but living wage, entry level work where people could gain that experience. And I encourage them to try it on. They should float around for a little bit when you're new, when you're starting out, and be able to try out a few different industries. If you're not liking food and beverage, go over to, bank teller, whatever, all these things that are getting, pushed out. And the more they can do things like this, the closer you are to AI being able to replace even more, because paying $4 an hour for an outsourced video cashier, how much cheaper would it be for ChatGPT just to put up, a little deep fake face right there and thank you for your patronage and make your change? There's nothing stopping that from being the next iteration.
Yeah, just NFT
At me.
yours. You could sell it, I'm sure, for a lot. And apologies to the one future Iowa podcast listener that we would have had for Will, Doug, and you guys. Um, Again, my only thought is
I love Iowa. Every one time I've been there.
yeah. So
Fuck Kansas though.
my thought right now, I was driving through Cracker a few months back, and now as it's like
Woo!
3 degrees outside right now, I think about it. I ran into all those little robots. It looked like a bunch of coolers with antennas, right? And I didn't know what the hell they were. I literally had to Google. Yeah, I feel horrible for you. I had to Google what they were, and it's these like AI bots that drive around and do the deliveries to the dorms at the Akron University. And again, who the hell wants to be sitting out at 0 degrees for whatever that wage is? Probably the same as it is in the summer or the fall, and deliver it. So maybe this is a good,
That's an
maybe there's
excellent
certain
point. We should have
options.
a variable wage.
Yeah, yeah, hazard pay, right? Snowplow hazard pay. Anyway, all
Just
right.
like I said, graveyard should get paid extra for working overnight because you're giving up your life for a job.
Well, I did see
Oh, that's all a
back.
job is. You're trading your time of your life for money.
I do appreciate your take on jobs and that you're selling a piece of your life for money that you'll never get back. And what is that piece of your life
Never get
worth
back.
in that time that you work? That hit me when you told me that a few years back. I think it was either after a few espressos or maybe in the introspective phase of a couple drinks at the bar, but that one hit me. So I will say a couple years ago, there was an article I remember seeing where they were hiring people with disabilities that had significant disabilities that were operating then robots in restaurants and such. So again, another good cause. Find ways to employ someone who may not be able to get out of the house or get out to the restaurant and be able to serve a table. I think there's good to it too. So there's your good
I'm
and
a
evil.
big fan
Figure
of
it
that.
out.
That's it. That's fantastic. That's the yin and yang. A little bit of good and the bad. There's always another side to the coin here. That was, I remember that's probably 7-8 years old now that they had that. So that was a early adoption of some of that technology. I was surprised, when it was way back then. It was almost Jetsons kind of stuff that they were talking about. But obviously everybody picked it up after COVID. Everybody was going for the automatic things, the touchless things. So that really pushed it over the edge. But there are applications that make total sense and are additive to the world, make it a good thing to do, and that's one of them.
I prefer extra touch, and on that, I need to get a.
Nate, you follow us on Instagram?
What is no? What's that?
Well, you fucking should. Ladies and gentlemen, follow us on the Instagram. What I understand is TikTok as well, possibly LinkedIn. I don't think so. No, not LinkedIn.
All of
Maybe
them?
Facebook. The
Thought
point
it was social
is
media.
a forced conversion here for the conversation to Meta, because I believe Meta's doing some things that is interesting enough to talk about.
Game, I guess.
Yeah, that's how fluid a transition we have around here at Raising Spirits.
The fuck are you talking about?
It's more being meta because I'm talking about it and it's meta. Never mind. Just go with the
I
story.
thought you were gonna transfer into it.
I was just introducing the idea so that you could pick up the ball and run with it.
I don't think we're crafty enough for some of those
I was going to
segues.
mention a football player, but I can't think of one at the moment that would pick up a ball and run with it. I was going to try to find a Packer.
A defensive player.
All right, well, defense, go.
Sports. All right, let me think. Lawrence, DeMarcus Lawrence from the Seahawks. I think he caused the first fumble the other day on Brock Purdy.
Lawrence Taylor. That's a
Well,
football player.
that's a hell of a player right there. You see the Giants got a new coach? Harbaugh, 5 years. After 18 years with the Baltimore Ravens. Swooped him right up.
All I know is that I won fantasy football this year and I beat you.
Here we
And I
go.
watched a grand total of about 45 minutes of football the entire year. The entire season.
Here's to everyone doing anything based off of statistics, Watson, AI,
Science.
analytics, all that
No
bullshit.
AI.
Have you
No
ever seen
AI.
Moneyball? Have you ever seen
I
Moneyball with Brad
have.
Pitt?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sabermetrics.
That no, you're banking on that shit to work, and you got lucky.
And it did.
1 out of 6 years.
It's been
Let's
6
track.
years. I have
Let's
1
track your
first
record.
place, 1 second place, 3 third places. Only 1 dog year. You play in the numbers here.
Okay. Yeah. Put that in your resume in case this doesn't work out.
Well, based on the content we're putting out, it's likely not to. And we'll have to go out there and put some content out on Meta in order to get some likes so that we have some viewership here.
Like Meta
And
glasses?
I know they're not viewers. Yet. Or maybe they are.
Drinks
I
with
really
ice.
was just hoping you could pick the ball. This was your story. I was hoping you'd enjoy it. And
I
just
didn't
grab it
thought
and
we
run.
had names on the stories.
It says right there, Meta is changing how it rewards its top performers, according to a memo seen by Business Insider, which makes it sound real exclusive and secretive.
This is great. You could have said that like 2 cuts ago.
And yet here we are.
Let's do it again.
We're doing it right now.
You should have just introduced the shit.
This is great content for Ashley to use. She's going to have so much to introduce this with. I bet she's incredibly excited.
Thank you for that.
So Meta is reporting or has released a memo talking about a new initiative they have that's basically, if you boil it down, merit-based compensation, which I know is something that you've been very excited about. Obviously, all compensation to a degree is merit-based. You have to do a job to get paid. But this is a little bit more complex than that. Nate, I think you did a little more reading on this than I did.
Yeah, I read into it. And again, the first thing that intrigued me was the pay for performance aspect of it, which I really like because, focus on what helps your bottom line. And if one of your team members, they're producing, damn right, they should get a chunk of what they're producing, right? I think it's kind of goes along with the like a commission aspect of things. And not all office-based jobs or businesses have a commission-based, bonus or pay scale. So in this instance, I think back to all the Caesars days, right? Where we're evaluating, we're doing the metrics or calibrations, as you guys called it in Laughlin. I think this is great because you get paid based off of what you do and what you produce. I don't think there's a better way for it because, in all honesty, not everybody's equal. Not everybody should get paid the same. I have a heart. Yeah, not everybody's the same in the sense that their ceiling is the same. So I understand why, you still have to have a floor. I think in this article it talked about 300% bonus based off of production for the company. And I think it actually just went down to no bonus, right? Which a lot of corporations and companies probably do on a regular basis anyway. So why not keep it as a positive? And there were 3 or 4 different scales of how you could achieve, whether it was a 300% or 150%. And that itself should motivate those who are willing to do it. And if they're not motivated by it, they probably shouldn't be in the job, and you probably need to let them turn over naturally. Attrition, I guess, as a business would call it, and find somebody else who will. So I think you and I don't want to speak for yourself, but I would tell you I would be more motivated on something that I know is going to directly impact my pocket than something that is just stable, standard. It's not going to change. I feel like it's just natural human nature, right? If you're rewarded for outputting more, you're going to do it naturally.
Yeah, it goes back to, what gets measured gets done. If you put attention on the behaviors, if you incent the right behaviors, you're going to get that action back tenfold. I'll relate it back to the casino world. Harris Laughlin, we talk about that a lot, but yeah, that was, a great place, a microcosm of the gaming industry, if you will.
Sounds like a number 2 property.
Oh no, it sounded like a number 1 property, except for one quarter, which you guys really hung on to. Nonetheless, was the more early, we had a bonus based on service scores, and because we were number 1 in the company for about 8 years running, we got it often. Now, this is a little bit of an aside from the base story here, but the payout was $200 for everyone. So when I joined the company, I'm like, holy crap, $200 a quarter just for making sure I took care of the customer well. That was huge. Now that was more of a across the board. Now you had to have a certain level of review. You had to be in good standing, with the company in order to receive that. But by and large, everyone at the property, front and back of house, would get that payout when you had that shift of scores that you needed. Now, what I always found interesting, and this is a little bit off the topic, they originally offered it either in cash or in stock. So it was kind of reinvesting in the idea that you have that ownership of the company. Now, this, I think, could do something very similar. If I'm getting a 300% bonus at the very top end, obviously Meta's not hurting. They're doing well. If you're contributing to that point that you're worth a 300% bonus, that is, in my mind, almost just backdoor profit sharing, really.
It's probably the paychecks from the 10,000 that they cut 2 years ago, or maybe another 10,000 from the couple of years
That
before.
is true.
Which again,
Meta
I don't have a
is
problem
maybe
with
not the best
being
example
more.
of culture.
I
But
don't have a problem with being more efficient. Again, there's some fat that needs to be trimmed at times and shape up or shape out.
I still want to see Zuckerberg do celebrity boxing, but yeah, it is.
Like he's gotten his shape. I've seen him at UFC events.
I equate Meta. People talk about Meta and Zuckerberg and things like that in a negative tone. I equate it to like Spaceballs. He's Dark Helmet. Yes, they're probably objectively up to no good, but in a way that's the least amount threatening. More funny than threatening.
Yeah, that
aside
movie
from his compound in Hawaii, that makes me think that an asteroid's hurtling towards Earth and only the elite get to know about.
I'm not familiar with Spaceballs. I've heard of it, but actually, I do recall a scene where they said comb the field, and they actually had a giant comb.
I ain't found shit.
Yeah,
comb the
that's
desert.
about all I know.
You got to put that on the watch list, man. That is a huge.
No, Family Guy's the same way.
I'm pouring one out to Mel Brooks.
I'm not a Family guy, but I like the movie because I got watched that, like 10, 20 times through college. But I can't sit there and watch every episode. That's just me.
Guaranteed your pop has Spaceballs on DVD. He has to. That's a top tier cinema.
They have that.
Oh, they have Spaceballs.
They got the wheels
VHS.
with the film on it. You can put in the projector.
Spaceballs, the lunchbox. Spaceballs, the snow tire.
Nah, let me tell you a little quick story about Pops. So I bought this.
Shout out to Homer.
Yeah, shout out to Homer. I bought this Pathfinder from him one time, and it was like a 1995 Nissan Pathfinder, right? And he had upgraded the stereo system to where it had a CD player, which was exciting, when I bought it, so I could throw all my jams in it. Mike Jones. All of a sudden, the power, like I don't know what happened. The battery died. And when I got a new battery, the CD player wouldn't work. And it just had this like error message or something. And I called him. I'm like, what kind of fucking janky ass shit did you buy for this CD player? And he's like, oh yeah, that's a safety feature. You got to put in the first CD that you ever put in for it to unlock, and that's so thieves can't take the CD. You know what that shit was? Bat Out of Hell. It was like Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell.
Oh, that is a killer album.
You know what I did? I bought a whole new CD player because I wasn't about to go buy that stupid thing and then put it in.
Shut the fuck up, man.
No.
Rest in peace, Meatloaf. Bat Out of Hell is fantastic. Bat Out of Hell 2, Back into Hell. pretty good album as well. Anything after that, I don't jam with. But yeah, no, those two, come on, huge
No,
albums,
big
huge album.
difference from
Paradise by the
yeah.
Dashboard Light. That was new, a new level of music where they combined the classic baseball play-by-play with the rock opera kind of thing going on. Oh, huge
He was
Meatloaf
gonna
guy
give
over
me
there.
some Lil Wayne stunting like my daddy or something like that, you know, and then he comes out with this Meatloaf, and I'm thinking, what the fuck are you talking about?
I thought he was fucking with you, like you're about to go out and change some blinker fluid or something, man.
No, this was legit.
You got to
This
put the
really
first
happened.
CD in there.
The first CD. I don't know what kind of. Yeah, I'm sure he bought that shit at like AutoZone or something. It was like a no name, you know, thing. So, yeah, well, shout out to Homer.
Homer, I'm talking about, would definitely appreciate merit-based compensation. I know he introduced us to an acronym that basically translates to if you can't beat them, join them and just do the minimum and get paid. If we were in a situation, shut up, collect checks, yep. But something that we unfortunately have referenced before in our careers. But when you're, given the opportunity to be recognized based on effort, maybe not always based on the position you're in or any of those
Or the
nepotistic
overall company
kind of
results.
evaluations. Yeah.
Individual results. You
When
have
you're
to look at
getting
all the pieces.
compensated based on your merits, on what you bring to the table yourself, not anything else. Not any of the, we all know people. I assume we all know people. If you're listening to this podcast, you're likely in the business world here, and we know people that are getting bonuses based on your hard work and toil that have nothing to do with you. The org chart may say different, but they're not contributing to your success in any way, shape, or form. If you knew that you're getting a bigger, as a percentage, we all know pay rates are different. You're getting 300%, and they're getting the 20. You're definitely gonna feel a way towards the business that's a little less suck than perhaps what we've experienced in the past. So I'm despite the evil empire being related here, I feel like this is a great way to go forward into 2026 and beyond, paying based on what you're contributing to the business, not necessarily what the bottom line says, or even, I talked good about what we did back in Harris Laughlin, but that being a blanket bonus probably wasn't right either. You have to be individualized and understanding. I know Nate had put together several merit-based proposals in a previous life of ours, with the kind of minutia that people know they could affect the outcome. So I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I in those instances, I looked at what was important, and we didn't have additional financial assets to to spend as a company. So what I focused on was the days off, those other things that were valuable to the team members. And again, I was in a new role in a new department with team members who didn't really know me. So I was at a little bit of a disadvantage, but at the same time, I had the advantage of not having been there for a long time. So I could make some of those changes. And I based their day off bids off of what was controllable, things such as their attendance, their performance with a handful of standards that we expected as a company. And I broke those down into individual ones to make sure we could differentiate among one team member to the next. And I was pleasantly surprised with the results that after that first quarter, just because you know, we increased significantly amongst the whole team of what was probably like 9 to 12 employees, and eventually ended up being like 7 or 8. uh I was pleasantly surprised without financially offering something to them, something as significant as their days off. And in the hospitality industry, you understand those Sunday, Mondays are
Sunday, Monday
coveted.
is the best you're getting for
That's
sure.
that's it. So if I could offer that up to the best performing team member, when something as simple as attendance was one of the factors in how you earned your the top tier of the, or you could earn a great grade for that, why the hell wouldn't you? And again, the beautiful thing was it was all achievable by effort. It was all effort based. I didn't focus on anything that, in our instance at the casino and in player development, you can't talk a customer into pulling money that they don't have out of their wallet, right? So if their customer didn't play bigger, the next year or quarter over quarter, I wasn't going to penalize them. I was going to rate them based off of what they could contribute or what they could do. And in that instance, it was, it was mind-boggling how the effort changed, and then that percentage of increase to the next quarter, and then the following quarter to the future quarter. It again, that was probably one of my, I wouldn't say proudest moments, but we made an impact, and we went from the bottom of four companies, or four properties in a company, to the top of the company when it came to customer service, when it came to interaction, and all the metrics that we valued as a company and the surveys from our customers. It was clear as day, and it was something as basic as that. And so I was happy that I thought of it, but at the same time, I was more happy that our team members responded, and I was able to find what was desirable for them.
Yeah, the subtle genius of that was removing some of the things that, the team members couldn't control. The macroeconomic things, the year over year nature of how most things are measured, in the casino business or just in general. The customer doesn't follow your timeline. They're not working on your fiscal year. They're working on when they got the dough, when they got the time, when they want to do business with you, whatever business you're in. And so by removing those factors and placing this little piece of merit-based, I don't want to say compensation, but reward, if you will, by removing all those things, it becomes 100% controllable. So all those conversations you have with especially if you're in a sales related industry, you have a lot of conversations with your sales force about things that perhaps they feel aren't controllable. Well, now you've removed that argument. Like, oh, this, oh, that, completely out the window. This is 100% on you. And if you can control, or I shouldn't say control, if you can incent and cultivate that accountability, that sense of accountability on something as simple as, completing paperwork on time, doing a certain number of calls, attendance, like you said, the things that they are controllable, now they feel a little bit more engendered to the business, a little bit bigger piece of the business, because you're now rewarding the things that they can directly impact every day.
And
And
we
obviously,
knew
you're always
those
going to hold them accountable to sales, but
we know those were the metrics that would drive the needle too. So we knew those would lead to the department results, right? So that was the beautiful thing, and it was identifying those, and then finding a way to put those into place. It was yeah, that was a good success story, because I remember, shout out to Lucky again coming in and saying, "What the hell are you gonna do with this 38%, of a customer review score? You're the worst department in the company." Like at the bottom, literally. And I was like, "Oh, welcome, welcome. This is awesome." Because there was only up to go from there. So I was
no
actually set up
ceiling.
to succeed at the same time. But there was nothing more satisfactory than seeing like his superimposed face with the trophy amongst the other three properties, and they sent it out in the email, at the end of a quarter. And Thistledown led the charge when it came to customer service scores for player development.
Yeah, I may have made some bad hires before you, possibly. Yeah, I think you might be able to prove that out mathematically.
Yeah,
I
you
will
you
say the
also
one,
passed on me a few times too, right? So,
yeah,
shout out to
yeah,
everyone who's tried to get a job, and I did not want to work for Will. It was just that I liked
that
the
makes two of
the
us.
the the thought of the job, and I continued to apply multiple times, and I think on the second or third time I got it, and we absolutely hated each other. So this is a good way to break the ice on seeing our faces and knowing that I despise this guy on the other side of the camera, and it just so
It was
happened
a
that we
great learning experience for me as a leader, in that I didn't like Nate. Nate represented a lot of the minutia that I didn't like about our business. And so I resisted that. But what really is Nate was right for our business, for our piece of the business, the VIP side, the sales side, because that's where it lives, is in that minutia. The devil's in the details, if you will. Those small things are impactful. And so what one side might see as, and I'll just use it, nitpicking, that is customer advocacy. That is making sure that your customers are getting the exact. So you'll have, I'll use another metaphor, I guess. If you go to any Greasy Spoon, any Denny's, any IHOP, you're going to have that crusty old waitress that has kind of the RBF, and seems like, she hates being there, but she loves being there. And she runs the shift. The supervisor's in the back, dicking off, doing orders or whatever, forever, grating the cheese in Nate's Chipotle story. But there is somebody up there that's running the shift, and they're paying attention to those things that somebody like me at the time was not educated enough to pay attention to. Nate was far ahead of me on customer service on that point. Shout out to Tahoe, gave him that one. But he
will
was able to bring that to it.
Take it.
And so once I got my head out of my ass, brought Nate onto the team, obviously we had, no ceilings. So here's the Nate.
Ceilings. I love it. Yeah.
Now
I think
the downside
again,
was your merit-based,
here we go.
your merit-based program oftentimes rewarded people that we maybe didn't want to reward. So that's the downside. When you put the control in the hands of the team members and they do the things you want, sometimes it's the person you didn't want to do it.
Again, might not be the person that had the highest ceiling, but you at least overall usually got, some collective results that you wanted. I still remember the TED Talk TV that I started funneling, videos to, and had the puzzles on, and, the ABC Always Be Closing on. Shout out to Lewis recently for bringing that up. And
Always be cobbling.
Now, that stuff was somewhat culture, somewhat, I mean, again, they probably couldn't speak to something like that, to where when we did it, it was eye-opening and refreshing to them. Not eye-opening, but yeah, definitely refreshing to them. And we got the results we wanted, again, at 39% of, GGR for the company, and the small department that we were focused on that. I remember some gentleman coming in and saying, "Hey, Nate,
Nathan, you want some spaghetti?"
Came from a guy that didn't want to hire me to then a guy that was like patting me on the back and saying, "Yeah, you were the best hire I ever made."
It's easy to take credit once the results are proven.
Touche.
I will never take credit for what you did. You did it all on your own. Because anybody can be a pass-through, but to have your own ideas, to come into a situation and say, "Hey, I want to try X, I want to try Y," to have the confidence to say, I want to try, knowing full well I could fail, but I want to try anyway. That's all you can ask for somebody. That's what you want to hire. You want to hire somebody who's willing to put themselves out there to say, "I think I can make it better," and bet on themselves. Because then if you don't, you're going to sit there holding the bag anyway. So.
Absolutely. And I think, again, not to give you a paperclip, but I would say that given the blank papyrus, let's call it, I was able to scribble some shit.
Beat the reeds myself.
I was able to do it my own way, right? So I was given the rope, and it turned out good in that instance. But not all leaders give their managers or supervisors the opportunity to kind of cultivate something their way. So I was given that, and that was that helped lead to it.
Not everybody's in a position to be able to pick up the ball and run with it. See, I brought it back to sports. You can put other folks in the same position. Yeah, I think we're wrapping it up here for the week. I do want to have an episode coming up here soon where we could talk about some of our hires in the past. Maybe we could find some pseudonyms to use and tell some fun stories, because this conversation got me thinking about a few folks, some jackpots, if you will, that have some stories around them. We'll have to get Ashley a bleep button if she hasn't already researched one based on our language. I'd
like to get you an extra button up a little higher.
Nah, this is chest hair, baby. Come on, get in there. Yeah. Yeah. You wish you had a little more chest hair when it's 3 degrees outside, but I'm down here in the nice 50s, so I got to unbutton a few buttons, let some heat out. Woof, toasty.
I'm not in the 50s, and I'm in the 2025s, and I shave it.
Cute. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tolerating another episode of Raising Spirits, a new standard podcast, hosted by Will Hockney and Nate Geeson, and produced by the lovely Ashley Kuba. Thank you very much for your efforts there. Theme music by Marcus McLaughlin. Musical director Angel Flowers, taking credit for somebody else's work. Raise our spirits by following us on our socials at RaisingSpiritsPodcast or visiting newstandardconsulting.com/raisingspirits. Until next time, here's one to you.